glories to his devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning is Shiva Ratri, so before we do our Srimad Bhagavatam verse, I'd like to speak a few minutes about the glories of Lord Shiva. So, the name Shiva means auspicious. As we heard this morning, he's the greatest of all Vaishnavas, Vaishnavara Shambhu. So he's glorified by all the devotees of Lord Krishna. In fact, he's the head of the Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, which is headed by Vishnu Swami. And he's one of these great Mahajans, great authorities and teachers of Krishna consciousness. So in so many ways, he's worshipable for the devotee, for the bhaktas. But at the same time, there's a little bit of a funny relationship. Because generally Lord Shiva is worshipped by the karmis and jnanis. The karmis worship him because he gives material benedictions very easily. And the jnanis worship him in order to become one with him as the master of the material energy. Lord Shiva is his own distinct category of living being. He's neither Vishnu Tattva nor Jiva Tattva, not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor one of his parts and parcels. But he is the Guna Avatar, the incarnation of the Lord in charge of the mode of ignorance. And so for this reason, he is different from Vishnu. Whereas Lord Vishnu is never affected by the material energy. Lord Shiva is connected with the material energy. For example, when the demigods and demons churned the ocean of milk and first produced an ocean of poison, out of his great kindness and compassion, Lord Shiva took that poison, consolidated it, and drank it. So his throat was blue as a result of drinking this poison. So he's known as Kalakanta, blue-throated. This shows how he's connected with the material energy. He is also the husband of the personified material energy, Durga. And this is also another way he is connected. But although he is the husband of Kali, Durga, the material energy's deity, he remains the master of that energy. When the demigods wanted to have a new commander for their forces, they resolved that the best father for this powerful leader would be Lord Shiva. So his wife, Sati, in her previous life, appeared again as the daughter of Parvats, mountains, known as Parvati. So before they were married, the demigods dispatched her to Lord Shiva while he was sitting in meditation. She was the most beautiful young woman, most beautiful. And although she had tried to disturb Lord Shiva in his meditation, she could not do it. So this is one example of Lord Shiva as the great Vaishnava. Deep in meditation, Dhira could not be disturbed in his Krishna consciousness. So Lord Shiva is sometimes engaged in pastimes with Lord Krishna, in which he is dependent upon Krishna's help. For example, because he gives benedictions very easily, and he is thus worshipped by materially ambitious people, one particular big karmi named Vrika was trying to please him. He was very ambitious, so he decided he would attract Lord Shiva by cutting off chunks of his flesh and putting it in the sacrificial fire. So he was doing this, praying to Shiva, doing it again, praying to Shiva. Nothing was happening fast enough for him. So he said, all right, I'll cut off my head. Somehow, he stretched out his head over the fire, took an axe, and prepared to decapitate himself into the fire. And indeed, this forced Lord Shiva to appear. All right. What do you want? He said, I would have been satisfied by a little water. You don't have to do all of these horrible things. Anyway, I'm here. What would you like? So Vrika said, I don't want much. I would just like the moon that whichever hand I touch will explode. Now Lord Shiva knew that by giving this benediction, he was giving milk to a serpent. It would only make his enmity stronger. But because he had promised, he agreed, yes, you have this benediction. So the very crooked Vrika said, all right, I would like to try it on you. Let me see how it works. Then Lord Shiva was in trouble. So he ran by mystic power through space. But Vrika also had mystic powers and was chasing right behind him. So he ran here and there, could not shake him. Finally he went to the shore of the ocean of milk where Lord Vishnu resides. Lord Vishnu, seeing his dear devotee in trouble, came before Vrika as a very charming young boy, just 4 or 5 years old, very innocent. And as Vrika was racing by, the boy said, why are you running so fast? Why are you stressing your body so much? The body is very important for material enjoyment. Why don't you stop and relax a while? Tell me, what is your mission? So in this way he charmed Lord Vrika. And Vrika stopped and said, yes, I'll tell you of my purpose. And he explained the whole thing, why he's chasing Lord Shiva. And when the young boy heard about the benediction Vrika had received from Lord Shiva, he said, this is very, very bad. This Lord Shiva is known for giving these bogus benedictions that don't really work. He's always associated with ghosts. He gives them false benedictions. Now it looks like he's giving you one as well. I think that you should prove that this benediction is no good, and then you should severely chastise this Lord Shiva for his deceit. Here, touch your hand and prove it doesn't work. So in this way, the foolish Vrika said, what? Yes. And there was a piercing explosion. and he was done. So in this way, Lord Vishnu takes care of his dear devotee, Lord Shiva. And this is their relationship of loving exchange. So Lord Shiva is entirely enlightened in devotional service. One time, King Chitraketu, the great king who had been enlightened by a sage's mercy and the death of his son, was flying throughout the universe performing Harinam Kirtan. So he flew over the abode of Lord Shiva, and there was Lord Shiva instructing a group of sages with his wife Parvati on his lap. This struck Chitraketu as very amusing, because he would not think of the renunciant, the very detached Lord Shiva, speaking with his wife on his lap. And when he saw it, he laughed. And Lord Shiva saw it, he was not at all concerned. And Parvati was very offended. So she cursed him. You're laughing at my husband? You become a demon. Then Chitraketu landed his airplane, dismounted, came before Parvati and Lord Shiva and offered his obeisances. He did not ask, please remove this curse. He simply accepted it, offered his respects, and left. So Parvati was very amused by this, very surprised by this. She said, how is it that he hasn't asked to be relieved of my curse? To which Lord Shiva replied, Narayana Parasarve, Nakutasthana Deviti, Swarga Kavara Narakishu, Natalasu Madhara. For a Vaishnava, Lord Shiva explained, heaven or hell are the same. Because wherever the devotee is, he is performing devotional service. So for Chitraketu, this was not an inconvenience or even an impediment to his devotional service. Sometimes we're in very nice situations, sometimes we're in very difficult situations, but in every situation we can serve Lord Krishna. Vajram pushpam palam toya, yome bhakti. Krishna will accept a humble offering, which is always available in any season of the year. Vajra, flower. Leaf. The leaf comes in the spring. Then the flower. Then the fruit in the fall. And then if it's winter, then at least water. So in any season, one can make some offering to Krishna. So in this way, Lord Shiva explained to his wife how that even as a demon, Chitraketu would be able to continue his devotional service. This is the greatness of Lord Shiva. He is Vishnu, but in a way that cannot be transformed back to Vishnu. Just as milk is turned into yogurt by the addition of a souring agent, but yogurt cannot be turned back into milk. So in the same way, Lord Vishnu becomes Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva is his own distinct position. The very intimate servant of Lord Krishna. Lord Shiva ki jai. Shiva Ratri Mahotsav ki jai. So perhaps later, if there's some time, my godbrothers can add more Shiva Katha. But for now, let's go on to Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a very nice section to be reading on this day, as it's connected with the presence of Lord Shiva. So please chant. Aham Neti Svikritya Aham Neti Svikritya Yeshu Kumatir Vrihi Yeshu Kumatir Vrihi Jatyav Pramadayatino Vipra Yoga Upasthite Vipra Yoga Upasthite Aham Neti Svikritya Please whose mind is full of obnoxious thoughts. The householder, Vidya, turns his attention to Ramadaya, with his wife, Dina, very poor, when separation, occurred. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. King Puranjan was overly attached to his family and conceptions of I and mine. Because he was overly attracted to his wife, he was already quite poverty-stricken. At the time of separation, he became very sorry. Purport. It is clear in this verse that at the time of death, thoughts of material enjoyment do not go away. This indicates that the living entity, the soul, who is carried by the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. Due to false ego, the living entity still wants to enjoy the material world. And for want of material enjoyment, he becomes sorry or sad. He still makes intellectual plans to further his existence, and therefore, although he gives up the gross body, he is carried by the subtle body to another gross body. The transmigration of the subtle body is never visible to material eyes. Therefore, when one gives up the gross body, we think that he is finished. Plans for material enjoyment are made by the subtle body, and the gross body is the instrument for enjoying these plans. Thus, the gross body can be compared to the wife, for the wife is the agent for all kinds of sense gratification. Because of long association with the gross body, the living entity becomes very sad to be separated from it. The mental activity of the living entity obliges him to accept another gross body and continue his material existence. The Sanskrit word stri means expansion. Through the wife, one expands his various objects of attraction, sons, daughters, grandsons, and so on. Attachment to family members becomes very prominent at the time of death. One often sees that just before leaving his body, a man may call for his beloved son to give him charge of his wife and other paraphernalia. He may say, "My dear boy, I am being forced to leave. Please take charge of the family affairs." He speaks in this way, not even knowing his destination. Again, the translation. King Puranjan was overly attached to his family and conceptions of I and mine. Because he was overly attracted to his wife, he was already quite poverty-stricken. At the time of separation, he became very sorry. Srila Prabhupada. This is an analogy, or a simile being explained by Narada to King Puccini Bharati. The story of Puranjan, how the living entity has become attached, established himself in his kingdom, but then ultimately been completely destroyed. The whole story is being told because asked his sons to go to propitiate Lord Shiva. But when they met Lord Shiva, he instead directed them towards the worship of Vishnu. So the king wants to know why this is more important, worshiping Vishnu. And Narada is explaining this whole analogy to help him understand. I'd just like to mention also the gopis who worship Lord Shiva for a nice husband. So the karmis and the jnanis, and even the bhaktas go to Lord Shiva for benedictions. And according to the desire of the worshipper, Lord Shiva very kindly obliges. So in this case, he has given devotional service to the prachetas. And they have benefited greatly in their spiritual life by this association. So similarly, the king here is hearing this allegory of Puranjan. And he is also being greatly benefited in his spiritual life. Srila Prabhupada very nicely gives the example of the body and the soul. That the husband is like the soul and the body is like the wife. So there's great attachment between the two. So much so that when there's forced separation, the soul in material existence can think of nothing except the body. And thus they die in great sorrow and agony because they are losing the association of their most beloved. Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Jai, Radha Ki Jai, Shri Gaurnika Ki Jai. In this analogy of King Puranjana, we see the folly of material existence. Ayurharti Vaidam Sam Udyan Aschantayana Sal. Every rising and setting of the sun, another day passes and is lost, except to one who uses the time for glorifying Krishna. So in the ordinary course of householder life, there is nothing but a loss day after day and a tragic end. This is one of the very important and powerful lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam. However, it is very important for the Vaishnava to take this information in the proper perspective. Does this apply to the Vaishnava household? Is there any reference here to King Puranjana being Krishna conscious? No, there's no reference at all. He's simply absorbed in his material situation. But that is not the vision of the Vaishnava. The Vaishnava is always thinking of Krishna. Grihe tate mani tate, sada hari bole date. Whether renounced order or household life, the first business is Krishna consciousness. Because this is not at all the condition of Puranjana, the average man, Puranjana. This Puranjana is in total absorption with his household life. So if we think that we are taking a step backwards in our spiritual life by entering Grihastha life, this is a big mistake. In the very early days of the Krishna consciousness movement, everybody joined, nearly everybody was single, boys and girls. Then when the devotees became a little advanced and mature, they would be allowed to get married. It was a promotion. Then later, the brahmachari life became very popular. So much so that some leaders suggested all the women should go to Australia. Srila Prabhupada did not appreciate that suggestion. Srila Prabhupada was asked, is it a fall down for a brahmachari to get married? Do you know what he said? He said, what is the question of fall down? It is already the lowest position. So my point is that whatever we do with Krishna consciousness, if it's going to be successful, it has to be done with 6 things. You know these things. Sato Vrite, being honest. Association with devotees, and giving up the association of non-devotees. With confidence, with patience, with proper activity. And first, utsaha, enthusiastic. So how can we be enthusiastic about household life if we think that it's all mine? In the 5th canto, Lord Rishabh tells his sons, do not become a spiritual master, or a teacher, or a father, or a mother, unless you can deliver your dependents from birth and death. Notice that he puts these things on the same level. So nobody should take responsibility unless they're Krishna conscious and can give Krishna consciousness to others. In order to give Krishna consciousness to others, we have to be enthusiastic. If we look at our family and we think, oh, here is the ball and chain, here is the Maya that is keeping me from really being Krishna conscious, then we have a very immature and inappropriate understanding of a verse like this. It does not apply to the Vaishnava. All the Panchatattva, all Grihastas. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It does not mean that it is Maya to be Grihasta automatically. On the contrary, it is a great opportunity to act like a guru in your family. At least you can try. The point is that enthusiasm is possible only when we can give love and give appreciation to others. Because if we can give appreciation and we can give affection, then we can also feel affection. And this is a wonderful life in Krishna conscious household life. There is no need for a man or a woman to enter into renounced life if they are successfully serving Krishna in their household life. It's not mandatory. It's not even recommended in Kali Yuga for one to take sannyas. So, when we hear about the terrible condition of the householder, we should understand this is talking about a materialistic household and not the devotee household. For most people, householder life is the natural condition for prosecuting Krishna consciousness. Not for everybody, but for most people. So it must be done with enthusiasm. Prabhupada told the story of enthusiasm, Charlie Chaplin. There was a movie, and in the movie, Charlie Chaplin was at a very formal ball with his date. And, well, when he sat down between dances, some rascal came over and nailed his long-tailed suit to the chair. Then when Charlie Chaplin stood up, it ripped the back of the suit. So he was not sure, what should I do? So he went into the bathroom and looked at the mirror, and he decided he would rip the tail all the way up to the neck. Then he went out on the floor and started dancing very wildly. And the tails were flying around, and everyone was watching. Oh! Then one by one, all the men started ripping the back of their suits. Srila Prabhupada gave this analogy told this story to the devotees going to London. All of his sannyasi godbrothers who had gone there could not start much. But Prabhupada sent his Grihastha disciples there, and they were very bold. They went right to the most famous people in the country and gave them Krishna consciousness. And then through the fame of these people, then the whole country became aware. And so many people took it up seriously. So were they curtailed by the fact that they were married? Even one of them had a child, a young child. And still, with great enthusiasm and great success, they spread Krishna consciousness. And so the Lord is very kind. Krishna consciousness is a very loving relationship between the devotee and Krishna. And although Krishna will test the devotee, sometimes very severely, Krishna is not pleased when the devotee is suffering. On the contrary, he is very pleased when the devotee is pleased. So it is our duty as devotees to find out that natural condition in the proper way for us to express our unique devotion to Krishna. Krishna is so amazing that each and every living entity has a unique relationship with him. Completely unique. In the colder countries, it snows, and all the countless millions of snowflakes fall from the sky. And every single one of them is different. Each one is unique in and of itself. And in the same way, every single one of us has a unique, loving relationship with Lord Krishna. And there are so many living entities. Do you know there are as many living entities in a teaspoon of dirt as there are human beings on the face of the earth? Yes, life is everywhere. Living entities are everywhere. But Krishna is so amazing that each and every living entity is uniquely connected with him in a loving relationship. So, we are challenged in devotional service to find out what is that unique way in which we can serve Krishna. That special service which motivates us very deeply from our hearts to serve him without reservation. Anyam vivasita shunyam jnana karmadya namrita. Anukulena Krishnam shilanam bhakti. Favorable devotional service is that which is done without any other motive. No karma, no jnana. How is that possible? Is it possible by philosophical abstraction? No. It's only possible by love. It's only possible by loving what we do for Krishna and wanting to do that so much that we can actually shed tears out of the intense desire to do that particular service to Krishna. Whether it's building a temple or stringing a flower garland. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says we should learn this small technique. How to have such a strong desire to do some particular service for Krishna that we can shed tears. This is difficult to know when we're young, because the human brain for most people doesn't mature until the late 20s. So it's difficult to know when you're a younger person exactly what it is you want to do for Krishna. So that's why youth is a time for education, and the time for experimenting, the time for trying different things. That's very good for young people. Then, at some point, we should understand ourselves well enough to be very honest with ourselves. I feel most comfortable in this ashram, and I want to do this particular service for Krishna. When we have this knowledge, then we can very enthusiastically perform our devotional service. If it so happens that our nature takes us into householder life, we should take it with utsaha, great enthusiasm. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, Ye dina grihe, bhajana deke, grihe deko lokapad. One day, when I was doing my devotional service, my household suddenly transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. Has anyone else had that experience? But it's a very nice life. If Krishna is at the center, husband and wife, always tension in that relationship. But if Krishna is at the center, the tension is much less. Because there's a common purpose. When children come into the family, from the very beginning, as Prahlad Maharaj instructed, from the very beginning of life, they immediately are engaged in Krishna Kriya, in playing with Krishna, hearing about Krishna, worshiping the deity. That is a wonderful life. Then Gurur Nisaskat, what you notice, you're giving Krishna consciousness to your dependents. They may take it or not take it. You know, when Chitraketu was asking for a son, he asked the sages, please can you give me this one thing in my life that I want? They said, yes, we'll give you the son, but it will be, what's it, Harsha Shoka. He will give you happiness and also distress. So Chitraketu Maharaj was probably thinking, okay, he'll be a teenager. And he'll be rebellious. And that will give me some distress. So he said, okay, I accept it. So this is one of the wonderful experiences of householder life. You become very attached to the children. You have all kinds of hopes for them. But when they grow up, they become their own people. And your happiness can no longer be dependent on what they do. When they're very young, they think you are the greatest person in the world. When they hit a certain point, they would like to be in another country away from you. All of this is very good for spiritual life. It helps one become detached. And all of the attachment that is developed by nature's arrangement, it becomes broken. Therefore, we can be very enthusiastic. Our children may become devotees and may not become devotees. It doesn't affect our relationship with Krishna. Even Srila Prabhupada's own children could not follow their illustrious father in his full surrender to Krishna. So that's up to Krishna. They are individual, independent living entities. Our duty is to give them every opportunity. And then our own bhajan continues. All of this is very good for drawing out the emotion. Srila Prabhupada liked to quote his English professor, Professor Farquhar, saying that the brain of the woman is smaller than the brain of the man. He would always quote this. He said, "They said." Modern research has shown this is not true. The brain of the man and the brain of the woman are proportionately the same in proportion to the size of the body. If the women's body is typically a little smaller than the man, so the brain is typically a little smaller, but proportionately no smaller. But modern studies have also shown that the man and woman's brain work very differently. There's two halves to the brain, and men only know how to use one of them. So there's a great emphasis in the male brain about abstract thinking, philosophy, mathematics. In general, not always, but in general. Men tend to be stronger in that side. Women's brains are actually much more efficient than men's brains. They can communicate both hemispheres. So the other side of human life, the intuitive, the emotional, women are much more connected. And they can connect their rational behavior much more to their emotional feelings and intuition. So husband and wife make a very good combination, a good team for that reason. Provided the man is not too dysfunctional. The man can value the intuition of the wife. That's very intelligent. The man can take advantage of the superior ability of the woman to understand and to be empathic and to nurture. Then that man is very fortunate. That man is intelligent. Takes advantage of the opportunity of grihastha life. But if the man is thinking, oh, less intelligent, then he's less intelligent. Srila Prabhupada was talking about how women are less intelligent. And his disciple, Vishaka Devi Dasi, was there. And then he turned to her and said, if you think you are a woman, then you are less intelligent. So, as he's explaining in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining, the body and the soul are two different things. We may have this body, we may have that body. Opportunity for being Krishna conscious is equal. That's intelligent. If we understand the body is constantly changing, the soul is unchangeable. We understand that everything we have invested in this material body is all going to be taken away from us, every bit of it. That's intelligent. If we understand our purpose in life is to find out our loving relationship with Krishna, our own individual service for Krishna, and do that, that's intelligent. Srila Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. My godbrother, Param Brahmaprabhu, before he passed away, he said, I used to think that was a blessing. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So now I understand it was an order. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Because if we actually understand Krishna consciousness, we'll be happy, naturally. If we're not happy, something is wrong. Parma Karuna Parma Preaching, Nitaya Chakra, Sabhavata, the essence of all incarnations, Shira Shiromani, Kevala Anandakanda. Their path is simply happiness. So it is our duty to know ourselves well enough to find out what it is that will make us happy in Krishna consciousness. And to get objective advice from our elders, from our spiritual master, so that we can understand our unique, loving relationship with Krishna. We should not categorize anything. This is bad, this is good. Devotee means very liberal, very open-minded, able to see every opportunity as a way to serve Krishna. If we can come to this platform, we will give love to everybody because we won't judge them. We will appreciate them. Isn't that the highest platform of devotional service? Not that we're putting down this one and that one, but we're seeing the good in everybody. Male, female, old, young, white, black. Past all of that, here's the spirit soul. This very important spirit soul in the human body, part and parcel of Krishna. It's much more like me than different. Therefore, let me give love to this person. This is the highest platform of devotional service. Then we can become gurus, parents, and successfully deliver our dependence. And the whole world will become attracted to the saintly qualities of the devotees. The whole world will come to buy our books and to understand Srila Prabhupada, and to visit our temples, and to make friends with devotees because of the open, loving hearts of the devotees who are genuinely satisfied and happy in their own life. So chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So any comments or questions? Prabhu's. Yes.
You said we should not categorize, or devotees should not categorize other situations where this is useful or even necessary.
There are. That's the quality of the Madhyama, to be able to discriminate. But we should not pigeonhole. See, that everybody who is in this category is bad. That is not advanced Krishna consciousness. Remember the Uttama Adhikari sees everybody as more advanced. Like Yudhisthira. When Drona sent Yudhisthira out, he said, find somebody who is less advanced than you. When Yudhisthira came back empty-handed. But Drona sent out Duryodhana, said, find somebody who is more advanced than you. He also came back empty-handed. So Drona said, Yudhisthira is fit to rule the world, but Duryodhana is fit to be eaten by jackals. So if we cannot see something redeeming in everybody, how can we deliver them? So even if, yes, they may have many reasons we don't want to associate intimately, we should still be looking for something good in it. Amanina manadena. That is Lord Chaitanya's instruction. Find out something good, even in Jagai and Madhya. And that way, we should avoid categorizing. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the mode of passion is characterized by seeing people in categories, whereas the mode of goodness is characterized by seeing the unified quality of life in all living beings. So that is the path of advancement. We should not artificially do it, but we should understand that it will be the sign of our spiritual advancement when we see people in a more loving and open way. So for the beginner, yes, there must be enough discrimination. I need to stay away from bad association because I'll become affected by it. But for the Madhyama and beyond, the more advanced devotees, then we should be prepared to let that distinction go. All right. Other questions? Prabhuji? Over here, please.
Hare Krishna, like you said in the class that we must find out the service in which we are more pleased, and that is our unique service for Krishna. But we also hear sometimes that service is given to us. And if you try to do the service that we like, then it's kind of a self-gratification. So then we are not trying to think about Krishna's desires.
Srila Prabhupada had a disciple named Ishan. Ishan was a very enthusiastic disciple, and he came before Srila Prabhupada and paid his dandavats. He said, Prabhupada, what do you want me to do for Krishna? Prabhupada said, what do you want to do for Krishna? Whatever you say, Srila Prabhupada, that's what I want to do. And Prabhupada said, no, what do you want to do for Krishna? He forced him to think. So then Ishan said, well, I would like to make a mridanga that doesn't break so easily. And so that was how the Balaram mridangas began. So the point is, this is mature Krishna consciousness. As, again, Tanishka, okay, do this, do that. We need to be told. But as we progress, then we should be able to understand what is our motivation. We can verify that with the spiritual master. What motivates us? What is it? What excites us? What do we really want to do for Krishna? No, we have to understand that. There's a need to sometimes do what must be done. That happens to us all. And that doesn't go away at any stage in life. At the same time, we should have a single purpose that we want to accomplish for Krishna. And be pursuing that all the time, even if in a very slow way. Bit by bit. The devotee can envision, like Prabhupada said about this temple. The devotee saw an empty patch of land and he saw it, and envisioned, here's a temple for Krishna. So like that, the advanced devotee has a desire. This is what I would really like to do for my spiritual master. Okay? Thank you. One more question? Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, a small question from my side. Like as a beginner, we always find distraction in this world. Like we have to go to office, job, profession. There are so many people and so many thoughts. And apart from that, in office we can avoid also, but in our family, parents, relatives, brothers, sisters, we can't avoid that. Then those friends can't keep that as it is. So in these kind of distractions, many times it happens like an individual finds himself or herself that that person is getting down in his spiritual life. That person is getting demotivated. That how he or she should upbring herself or himself in this spiritual life.
Right.
So how to get ourselves motivated, keep ourselves motivated.
Yes. The first thing is the positive, sir. Satam prasangam. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido. To keep ourselves in association of devotees. That's the first thing. The emphasis is on the positive. But then what about the non-devotees with whom we are connected through jobs and family? What is our relationship there? There's a story in the Hindu Pradesh about the monkey and the crocodile. You know that? Yes. So they were always fighting. One day the crocodile came and said, "Oh, let's stop fighting. Come over to my house for lunch." The monkey said, "Okay, that's very nice. But you live out in the middle of the river. How will I get? I'll just hop on my back. I'll give you a ride." So on the way, the monkey started getting nervous, and he said, "What are we having for lunch?" "We are having heart of monkey." So the monkey then very quickly said, "Oh, my friend, why didn't you tell me? I left my heart back in the tree. But if you take me back, I'll be glad to get it." So the foolish crocodile then turned around, the monkey hopped off and stayed in the tree. So the point of the story is that we can associate with the non-devotee, but we should not give our heart. Dadati prati granati guyamatyati krishnati. Inquiring, disclosing our mind, that we do with the devotees. others, we should be very loving. We should behave so nicely that they want to understand, how is Krishna consciousness made this such a nice person out of this former rascal? Sometimes we teach Krishna consciousness by not saying anything about it. In fact, Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita says that the principles of religion are established not by argument or debate, but by the behavior of the devotees. So if we behave very nicely with the non-devotees, they will become attractive. Generally, the beginner, first thing he wants to do is go tell all his friends and family about Krishna consciousness. And they all think it's terrible. Because they're afraid they're going to lose you. So best to avoid that. We wait. Just behave very nicely. Like Lord Chaitanya told Raghunath Das. Just go home and you behave very nicely. And at the right time, everything will come. But the first thing is you stay with the devotees, build those relationships, and from that, Shraddha, Vritti, Bhakti, Anupravishniti. Faith, taste, and devotion all follow one after another. All right? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.